Hello, Light Keepers. Welcome back. And I have a very special guest today. Very good friend, Sonia Flores. She is a holistic life and business coach, intuitive advisor, and podcast producer. She helps soul led women share their message and gifts with the world by starting and growing their business or launching a podcast. She's also the host of Modern Latina in Midlife, where she shares her journey of navigating the third chapter in a woman's life, offering stories about business, podcasting, spiritual awakening, and personal growth. Her work is rooted in the belief that everyone has a unique gift to share with the world. And when your message is clear and your energy is aligned, you live in fulfillment of your life's purpose. You can find her at bluechakrastudio.com and her Instagram is Blue Chakra Studio. She also has a free Soulpreneur starter packet at bluechakrastudio.com/starter. And I am so excited to have you here. Oh my gosh. Sonia and I met in mediumship circle through Jessica Rachel. Oh my gosh, about a little over a year ago, right?
Yeah, I don't know why I want to say 2 years, but
I
maybe
know.
I think it's 2 years.
Yeah. Is it
I can't
two? Oh my
remember.
gosh. I don't even know.
It might be two. Yeah.
Life is going so fast. I can't, and I'm
Yes.
really feeling this fire horse leading up to it.
Oh my
Are
gosh.
you too?
Yes, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. In fact, we're about to meet for dinner and we're going to talk about this more. So,
I want to hear the
yes,
recap because I
yes.
mean,
Oh,
I'm so glad to be out of eclipse season, but at the same time,
oh,
I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm already riding this horse, and it's
oh, we
not
are.
even the date yet.
Yeah, yes, we
My God, buckle up,
yes, we are.
right?
And
Tell me,
as soon as we get out of Mercury in retrograde, I will be much happier.
everybody.
It has just been quite the doozy this time around.
It has. I think it
Okay.
ends in about 24 hours.
Okay, thank God. I'm thinking, I'm like Saturday, Saturday,
Yes,
Saturday.
I know, I know. Well, by the time this gets uploaded and all that, everybody, you'll be out of it completely.
Yes,
You'll be in the good vibes,
we'll be
but
in the clear.
we will be in the clear. And I'm thank you for coming. I am so glad you're here. We're going to talk everything spiritual awakening, how you got to where you are and all that fun stuff. And I did
Yeah.
actually before we even get into that, I just want to ask you first, Sonia, can you just tell us a little bit, just a brief overview? Where did you grow up?
Ooh.
And siblings and any kind of relationship and anything like maybe when you were a child, did you kind of go, wow, I'm just a little sensitive, or I really resonate to the moon or soil or any kind of woo touchy that, and then maybe at age 7 or 8, you squished it down into the ground. I don't know.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for having me. It's always
absolutely.
so fun being in your energy and being around you and doing all the things and working together and channeling together and all the fun stuff. So thank you. This is, I feel
Absolutely.
like it's such a natural, I feel, coming together. So
Mm,
thank you for inviting me.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so I grew up in LA County, Los
Hmm.
Angeles County, born and lived my first years of my life there as a first generation Mexican American. My parents were immigrants from
Hmm.
Mexico, and I am the eldest daughter of immigrant parents, which brings
Ooh,
a whole other set of craziness. But
yeah.
I'm the eldest daughter, and I have two younger brothers and a younger sister. And yeah, kind of grew up in LA for about 8 years, and then moved inland for a couple years, and then we moved to Mexico City
Oh,
for
wow.
5 years. That's where my dad's family was at. So we moved to Mexico City for 5 years. So my teenage years, 10 to 15, I was in Mexico City. So that was quite the culture shock. And then we came back. So then it was culture shock all over again
Oh my God.
at the age of 15. Let's see. My father is no longer with us. My mother is. She's gonna be 80 next year, and I have two sons,
Hmm.
a 20. 8-ish or 9, I can't remember, and 24. I'm an empty nester, and I have a very lovely and caring boyfriend who
Mm.
is just amazing and just he just treats me so well, and I'm just so lucky. So lucky.
Wow.
He spoils me rotten, and so
That is so beautiful.
yeah. And so
Is
it's fun.
Yeah. Is he also have parents that were immigrants?
No. Well,
Oh.
no, 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 no. His parents were born here.
Mhm.
His grandparents were immigrants.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a, he also grew up in LA,
Mhm.
but it's a different experience when
Yeah.
you're first generation and when you're not. So it's different experience, and it's really interesting. It's very, very interesting. Oof, that's a good podcast episode thinking about it.
It is. Definitely because you relate to the world differently. And
Yeah,
I didn't really
very
know
differently.
that coming back and coming back. I mean, you went to Mexico City first
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
lived
Hmm.
probably, I mean, you probably kind of understood Spanish,
Oh yeah, yeah. I knew
but English
Spanish.
but English was like, "Hey, I'm doing English." And then you go there and
Yeah,
everything's Spanish.
yeah.
And it's just different.
It's very
Oh,
different. Very, very different. I mean, Spanish was my first language, but I learned English very early on in kindergarten. So I'm fluent in both, in
yes.
speaking, reading, writing, all of it.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's interesting. So as far as sensitivity, I was always very emotional,
Mm.
very like felt very deep and very heavy. And I feel that as a child, I always kind of knew what was
Mhm.
kind of happening, like without people really saying it. You kind of feel the energy. Now I know.
Yeah.
But I felt like I always kind of knew. But then when I would ask questions, it'd be like, oh, no, 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 don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Like, it's like, okay, what's going on with this? And what's going on with
Yeah.
that? And it's like, oh, no, no, no. I was like, oh, I know something's happening.
Yeah.
And then I would just kind of, I was thinking about this the other day. I kind of have always felt that there's been a presence around
Mm.
me. And I felt that always at a very young age. And I always felt like there was a presence always kind of sitting in the corner of my room
Oh, wow.
or always like around me, but I didn't know what it was. And I didn't really, I may have asked my mom at one time or
Oh,
told
wow.
her, and she was just like, oh, no, 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 you're just scared, you're probably just imagining monsters or, something like that. And so it was always like, oh, well, that's scary. It's like, we
Mm.
can't talk about this. This is not good. So that can't be good. And so I just kind of I always have felt like if I'm walking down the hallway in my own home or at night, like there's always a presence. Like at night, even now when I wake up in the middle of the night to
Same.
get up, I still feel that there's a presence there. And now that I know better, I just feel like it's a spirit guide.
Yeah, I
I
was
just feel
gonna
like it's a spirit guide or yeah, I just feel like it's a spirit guide that's just there. But sometimes that feeling of that child's fearness will come up. It's like, oh,
Mm.
I'm like, okay, I know. We're
Yeah.
good. We're good.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember that very clearly as
Mhm.
I never saw anything. I don't really see things. I just kind of feel, I know I'm claircognizant, so I just kind
Mhm.
of know things. And that totally explains why in my upbringing at home, I kind of just always knew things were kind of happening, but
Yeah.
nobody would tell me because I was a child. Not bad things, but just things, just life,
Mhm.
like what's happening with the family. Like I just kind of always felt like I knew, and they were just kind of didn't want to talk to me about it because I was a child. They're probably
Yeah.
thinking, "Well, we don't need to be, having this conversation with her."
Yeah.
Anyhow, and then I just didn't really have many experiences like that. The only other thing that I really remember is when I was in high school, just really wanting to communicate with the other side, and I did not know how. And I don't know why I didn't think that I could just go to the library and start looking for like esoteric books. I just felt like it was so taboo and so like out of this world that like there's no way there's going to be books at the library about this. Now,
It's everywhere.
I wish I would have gone and like researched a little bit because I would have found plenty of books from like Neville Goddard and these other Neil Donald Walsh, and I would have
Mhm.
found those books a lot earlier. But it is what it is. I needed to go through my experience, and now I know.
And
Now I know.
it's all divine timing too.
100%.
And maybe the books that would have been out there might have been a little too intense and too scary at the moment. So it's all divine timing.
Yeah,
But
it's all divine timing.
it is. So going back to Mexico City, I've been to Mexico several times. It's been a minute since I've been there. But Mexico City, because Mexico, there's a lot of heavy spirituality there. There, I
Mhm.
mean, really deep, like deep rooted. Is Mexico City? There's probably a fair amount there too, right? Or
Yes.
right? And it's kind of like I get this visual that it's like an undercurrent. It's an undercurrent. It's almost kind of like clay and it's there and everybody knows it, but they don't really
Oh,
talk about it. Maybe they do.
well,
Because you,
there's a lot of archaeological,
yes,
I don't even know if that's the right word, but there's a lot of stuff that's still being uncovered
covered.
underneath
Yes.
buildings and
Mm-hmm.
rubble. There's like a whole Aztec and there's ancient ruins and communities that are underneath the land. And so that they're constantly finding more and more and more. And there's got to be a lot of spirits. And we actually did have a lot of experiences in our house in
Did
Mexico
you?
City.
Oh,
A
wow.
lot of unexplained, surreal. The only thing I can call it is ghosts at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary,
Oh,
and it
geez.
wasn't like the presence that I feel, and now speaking to my spirit guides, it wasn't like that. And maybe it wasn't because I was young and I didn't know that there was such thing as spirit guides that weren't meaning, any harm on us. I just chalked it up to ghosts are bad, because that's what you
Mm.
see in the movies. No, there
Yeah.
was nobody to talk to about these things. And then when I would tell my mom, I heard these things, I heard these noises. Oh, no, 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 you're just imagining. And I would hear noises. It was a two-story house, but every two-story house, every house kind of has like a top floor, like a rooftop kind of, where you might have like a small house where like housekeeping lives or sleeps, or in the, when they where they do the laundry and stuff like that. So we had like that floor, and so I'm sleeping on the second floor, and I would always hear at night like somebody dragging chains. Like
Oh.
if yes, like
Hmm.
if somebody was dragging some really heavy chains, like I would hear them like, what is going on up there? It
Yeah.
just, and it would go on and on and on for a while, and I was like, what is that? And then, and I remember I told my mom, and she's like, "Oh, no, 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 yeah, you're just imagining, you're dreaming." And so I was like, "Okay."
It's a bad dream.
So it's a really bad dream that goes
Yeah.
on every night.
Yeah.
And then I would sometimes hear or feel like somebody was trying to open the door, my door to my bedroom at night. Like I could hear it and I can see it, like jiggling. And I would be so scared to get up. And I was like, it must be my brother. He's like playing a prank on me, And I was so scared to find out that I just would never get out of bed to like check. And one day I decided, okay, I'm going to get up and just bust them. And I opened the door and there's nobody there. And so I'm
Mm.
like, closed the door, ran in bed, pulled the covers all the way up. And that's how I slept every night after that, with the covers all the way up to my head, because I could hear it, I could see it, and it
What were
clearly
you, 14? How old were you? 13?
I was at that time between 13 and 15.
Mm. Yeah.
hmm
Wow.
So I think there was definitely some spirits there, and I just never really talked about it with my brother. I think I may have asked him at the time, "Are you pranking me? Are you doing this at night?" He's like, "No, no."
No.
But now, as adults, we spoke about it a few years back, and I said I used to hear these things at the house, and my brother's like, "Oh my God, I did too.
Oh,
I heard the
he
same
did
thing." I was
too.
like, "What? Why didn't you say anything?" He's because I told mom, and she said I was going crazy, and she said no, and I was like, she told me the same thing. Like we should have talked.
Oh my gosh. This podcast is made possible by Mudwater. With daylight savings time here and the days getting longer, I've been loving iced mud water as part of my morning ritual. It's a blend of cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms that support calm, focused energy without the jitters of coffee. If you'd like to try it, you can find my affiliate link in the show notes. This is so funny because I don't even know. My first question, I wanted to know a little history, but Can you share a little bit about your spiritual awakening journey and the
Yeah.
experiences that first opened you up to your intuitive gifts? And it might have been then when you were between
Well,
13 and 15.
and it wasn't. To
Oh,
me, all of that was still, this is scary. There's a ghost and ghosts
right.
are bad. And that was always unexplained to me. And I just never, that wasn't it for me. So I feel like my spiritual awakening came in chapters. I
Oh, I
feel
like
like I
that.
kept being pushed to kind of wake up.
Uh-huh.
And the first kind of minor kind of spiritual awakening that I had, and I don't even know that would call that a spiritual awakening, but it was definitely a moment when I was like, oh, wow. It was when it was towards the end of my marriage. And I
Mm,
just remember the one day when I decided in my body and in my soul, I want a divorce.
mm.
And I said that to him. And I clearly remember where we were at. We were in the kitchen. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I think we should get divorced.
Oh,
And he's like, no, like, I will do this, I'll do that, and the whole thing, and blah, blah, blah. And I just remember this out of body experience. I remember myself lifting out of my body. And I remember kind of sitting up above the cabinets and just watching myself and watching us and what he was telling me. And I remember then telling myself up in the top, you would be so stupid. Like, what a stupid girl if you're going to believe him again. Like,
oh,
what a stupid girl if you're going to just think that this is really going to change.
wow.
And I just snapped right back into my body and I said, this is it. And there was no going back. That was it. And so that was the first time that I ever experienced something so profound, I felt, to me, but
Hmm.
I didn't know what to call it. I didn't explore it any further. It just was something that was really deep inside of me, because after that it was really tough for me. And
Hmm.
I went through not a really deep depression, but I went through a depression period
Hmm.
after that. And it was really, really tough becoming a single mom. I think I was 35 at the time. So that was kind of like, I felt like my first kind of experience with something a little bit out of body, out of different.
Yeah.
And then I would say the next one was what led to the breakup of my next long term relationship. I was living with a partner and we had blended our families, his son, my two sons. And I think from that, it came my true spiritual awakening. And the reason why we broke up was, some health issues with one of my sons, and he just wanted no part of it. And
Oh.
so he's like, your son needs to move out. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going with him.
Hmm.
It wasn't like, oh no, can he stay? Like,
Hmm.
no, no, no. I was like, okay, we will go. We'll pack our stuff. We're leaving because, rightfully so, it was his house. And so he was like, oh, no, 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 you don't have to leave, just your son. I said, oh no, honey, you don't understand. I'm going with him. I'm going to help him through this. I would do the same for you. I would do the same for your son. So the fact that you're even telling me this. So, anyways, we left. And that was truly the spiritual awakening journey for me. It
Wow.
was everything that came from helping my son, nurturing my son back to health, everything we went through, all the struggles. It just was this unraveling of all Western medicine had to offer. Not that Western medicine isn't helpful, it definitely helped on the surface to get us to an even to a level space. But then beneath that, what really helped us through that time period was energy healing and
Mm-hmm.
was meditation, and it was more of these kind of esoteric type of practices. That's where I just started diving deep into what is this energy healing thing. And then I saw a friend was doing energy healing on my son, a client actually. She was a podcast host and I was a producer. And she's like, let me do an energy healing on him. And she would do an energy healing on him. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I saw the fastest, quickest reaction, benefit, positive, turn when he would have those, and quickest when he would have the energy healings. And then she would do them on me too, to like help me with my
Oh,
anxiety and stay even keeled. And there was only so much I could pay for a month. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to get certified. I'm going to learn how to do this so I can help my son. And that just unraveled a
what
whole.
what type of healing is it, Sonia?
Went and got certified in pranic healing.
Pranic healing. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
So pranic healing, it is created by Master Choa Koksui, and it is a, there's kind of these, the idea is that energy cannot flow through the body freely when there's negative energies, or there's, a bottleneck of, stale energy, or there's cracks in your energetic aura. So the idea is that you clean the negative energy out of the body, you heal you cure any blocks, any holes in your aura, cracks and things of that nature, and then you put divine energy back into the
Oh,
body.
that's amazing.
So so that the energy can flow freely, so that the chakras can flow freely, so everything is cleansed. And when we don't do that, then that's when physical ailments come in, right?
Yeah.
When we have energetic blocks, let's say around the neck, this area, we're going to feel it, it's going to be first out in the aura. And then we're going to start experiencing it with like emotional struggles or mental health struggles. And then it's going to seep into the body. So by the time we actually feel pain, it's already been in our energy field for a while,
Yeah.
because it takes time to get into the physical body. I just started learning how to clear the negative energy, negative entities,
Mm.
elementals, negative energy thoughts, thought forms, all of that stuff from the body. And so I did the initial basic training, and then I did the advanced training, and then I learned to do pranic psychotherapy, and that
Oof.
was magic for my
Wow.
son.
That
That
sounds
was
amazing.
magic. That would, I mean, he would walk out of that room a different person the next day. And
And
that's
he
the
and he
thing.
was he was open to this also.
He was not.
Oh.
I,
Tell because I know
he was
people.
underage, and I knew that if he was in his right mind, that he would accept the help. But in that moment, he was in such a bad spot that he was just like, he would just didn't want anything. He didn't want anything. He didn't want to go to therapy. He didn't want to go to counseling. It was a struggle. But I knew that if he was well and in his right mind, if you will, that he would be willing to accept help to make him feel better. And
Yeah.
so I took it upon myself, with permission of his higher soul, to work on his energy.
Hmm.
He had no clue I was doing it. He
So,
had no clue.
just to kind of, I'm just going to, I hate to interrupt, but just for our listeners, tell us when we do a healing, because I'm a healer also, the person will accept it because we ask their higher self. So maybe you can just, just in 30 seconds, just tell our listeners how that works.
Mhm.
Because people who don't know, they might think, oh, this is voodoo. This is not good. This is not, but it's actually, we do ask the person at their highest conscious self. So maybe just
Mhm.
tell us a little bit. So how you
Well,
were able to do this to your.
when I do it now, I call in their higher self, and I say, I'd like to do this energy healing. Do I have permission to do this energy healing for this and this purpose? And then, if I feel like a strong shutdown in my body, then it's a no. And if it
Yeah.
feels like expansive, or I get tingles in my body, or I get a lot of like tingles on my hands, or like people like they're like squeezing my hand, like, yes, please, then I move forward. So I do that now with adults. At the time, he was also a minor,
Mm.
and I was responsible for
Hmm.
getting him to a good place.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that. We were not taught that you need to ask for permission. We were just taught, if you're doing this for the highest good, of course it's accepted.
And when you're doing it with that intention,
Right.
if the person wants it, they will accept it
Yeah.
because it's almost like an unsaid thing, and if
Right.
they don't want it, and I've had healings where people don't want it and I can tell there's no energy
Right.
flowing and I just
Well,
stop and I honor that.
and here's the thing: if their soul is not open to it, it's not going to land.
Right. Exactly.
it's not gonna work effectively.
Right.
So when there's permission and when there is receptivity, then it works much more efficiently. So if
Yeah.
his soul had not been open to it, he would not have had it would not have been effective.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have landed well.
Wow.
So, so that's how that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then how long was it? So he was underage. How long was this process? Everything unraveled, and then you're like, okay, I'm taking the reins. I'm going to do this. How long is the training? How long was this whole until you guys got to even
Well,
level
like
kind of
I want to say it was probably a good 2 years until I
yeah,
felt like, okay,
stable?
we're stable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a better place. And I remember just having like readings with like, intuitives, and they were like, these are the kids that are coming into this world right now. They're coming
Oh.
in to have these really big experiences. They're almost like seed stars.
Mhm.
They're coming in to have these big experiences, and they're also going to be here to do really big things.
Mhm.
So your job is just to keep him at this level for the next 5 years. From there on out, he'll figure it out. But right now, he's a teenager. Like this is your job. Just keep him even killed. Keep him healthy.
Mhm.
Feed him. Basically, keep him alive.
Wow.
Just and so that's what I did. That was all my responsibility.
Wow.
And so what I started doing is I started doing healings on my mentor, the gal that had been doing energy healings on myself, on me. Then she started like, well, since you know how to do this, do them on me. And then I would do them on her. She would be like, oh my gosh, you're really powerful. You're like really, really good at this. It was like, oh my gosh. And that was the type of energy healing she did. So that's where what I went to get trained in, because I didn't know anything else. So I was like, okay, well, this is what she does and it works for us. So I'm going to go do the same thing. And what I started, so I started doing it for other people. She kind of, she had a community. She was a podcast host, so she had this like big community, and we had a membership, and so we would go in, and she would tell them, Sonia does energy healing. So I started getting people that wanted energy healings. So people started booking with me, and what I started to find was that I would get these messages, and I clearly remember it was with her specifically one time. I had done an energy healing on her partner, and I just remember after getting like, "Oh, you should tell him this. You should tell him
Oh.
this. You should tell him this." And I'm like, "This is my ego speaking. Like stop distracting me. Like I need to pay attention to what I'm doing here." And then when I was done, then I went out for a walk, and then I kept getting this message. You need to tell him this. You need to tell him. 24 hours later, you need to tell him this. I'm like, oh my God. And I thought it was my imagination until 24 hours later. I'm like, this won't leave my mind. I think I have to tell him. So I sent a message. I said, listen, take this or not, but I feel like I need to tell you this. And I shared with him what it was, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I needed to hear.
Oh.
It resonates so well. This is exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you so much. Now I know what to do. Now I know how to move forward." And I was like, "Oh." And after that, that message left. So I started to get that. Oh, say this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just getting distracted. Like, stop. It turned out these were really messages that were coming in for them.
Yeah. Wow.
They were downloads for them. And so once I got training with Jessica Rachel on intuitive activation, like I knew at that point something,
Mm.
something was there, and I didn't know exactly what or how
Mhm.
to develop it or how to trust it. So I went through her training, and she's like, you need to just start speaking what you're imagining, what you think you're imagining. You need to just start speaking it, and you're going to see that more is going to come through and more is going to come through. And then you're going to trust it because they're going to confirm. And that's exactly how I developed it even further.
Wow.
So for me, energy healing was kind of the gateway.
Mm.
Really, I see it as my son led me
Mm.
to my spiritual awakening, and that is our journey together in this lifetime. I feel that he's really the one who awakened me, because what we experienced through his health issues is what opened the door to all of this
Wow.
for me. And so, and he's still, he's gone on to, he's fully healthy now and going on and doing his thing. And I'm starting to see how that psychic, if you will, that I met with was right. Because 5 years to the mark when she said that to me, it was a completely different person. He's
Wow.
like, okay, I'm gonna go get a full-time job. I'm gonna go do this. And it was like completely different. And now he's off on his career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job, Mom.
Thank you.
It's not easy,
It is not easy. It
especially
is
when,
not easy
especially when it's your own kin, right? Not
when it's
easy.
the kids. It is a
Yeah.
whole different story.
Whole different
A
story.
whole different story. But
Man.
but I just feel like being on this side of things now, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
now I see. Now I understand
Yeah.
why we went through this.
Yeah. It's
Like all of that makes sense and it plays a part into, what I do now.
yeah. Well, you kind of already touched on learning to trust your intuition,
Mhm.
but were there any moments that you can think back that kind of really go out and you're like you doubted it? Am I really sensing this? Am I really receiving this? Any particular ones and then you just go, "Oh yeah, that's it." I mean, you kind of talked about it, but any others or
More than anything is getting the confirmation, getting the
yeah.
validation from
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
When I say something and it resonates or it is the thing, or sometimes when I do an energy healing, I remember I did this energy healing for this girl once, and I was like, I don't know why I'm seeing this engagement ring. It's like floating around and not seeing, because I don't really see. I more sense, it's like I kind of just know it's there. Occasionally I'll get a little blur of an
Mhm.
imagination of something. But I said, I don't know why. I don't know why this is coming up, or if this is gonna, the answer to this is gonna be later in the healing. But I'm seeing this engagement ring, and I don't know what it means, and I've already asked for clarity, and I'm not getting it. And then I just went on and did the rest of the healing, and oh, this is what's coming through, and blah blah blah, and this and that. And she said, oh yeah, well, I was supposed to get engaged this week.
Oh.
That's what
Mm.
the engagement ring was. I was like,
Mm.
oh, no wonder it's floating out here. Like it's not close by.
Yeah.
It was like out here. So little things like that, when people confirm things of that nature, then I know it's feedback, right? It's
Mhm.
feedback, and that's why I like to be able to do those things in person, because then you get the validation, and that's
Oh,
where
yeah.
our little group is so helpful
So
when we
helpful.
channel together, because then people confirm, oh yeah, like the time I was channeling your mom and I was like, "Yeah, Fancy Nancy," and you're like, oh, I remember we used to
You
tell her.
remember.
I was like,
Oh my
what?
gosh, you remember her,
Yeah,
Fancy Nancy. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Oh my
yeah. And
gosh.
it's just like little things like that. It's like, no, Sonia, because there's always a doubt that comes in.
Mm.
There's always doubt that comes in. Like, am I really, is that really a message, or am I making that up?
Mm.
And then I'll say it, and it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
yes. So it's doing it, saying the thing, and what's just kind of and obviously when you give messages like that, when you're intuitive and you give messages like that, you'll either get the feedback from people, right? But in my own intuition, my own life, it's doing little things like, okay, should I have an apple or should I have an orange? Like, what should I have for lunch? And like trusting that first answer that comes to me, going with that, and then analyzing that afterwards. Okay, how was that? That actually was really a great choice. It's like letting that body speak to you. So making small choices like that, my small little decisions like that, and then evaluating it after the fact, it helps to start building up the intuition little by little,
Yeah, totally.
trusting
I
yourself.
and you're so right about trusting that first answer. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's always that first
It's
answer.
always the first answer. I
It's
love that
always the first answer from the
it is.
heart,
Mhm.
and then
Yes.
immediately after that, the brain comes in.
It's
Oh,
noise.
but you're crazy. Yeah, it's the noise. It's the noise. Exactly. So it's the first answer,
Yeah.
because everything else is your mind.
Well,
Hmm.
how did your intuitive abilities and now you're like, okay, I'm in the groove and how did that change or shape your business or did your business remain the same? after, I guess that would have been 4 years ago that you started working with
Mm-hmm.
Jessica? Or
Wow.
was it five? Was it 2020?
2023. 2023. At the end of
Okay.
2023, I started working with her. So it's been 3 years. Okay. The way I even got to Jessica was
Coaching. Yeah.
another step. So it was early 2023, and I was at the time I was a virtual assistant, podcast producer. I was online business manager, and that was it. And then I would do these energy healings kind of on the side, right? And I got this hit one day, this download. I heard this little voice say, "You're meant for more." And it felt like it was outside of me, but not really. But it was definitely on this side. So I don't know if it was, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was outside or inside, but I just remember looking up and going, okay, I'm ready. Show
Mm,
me.
yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I didn't think I was imagining it. I just knew in my heart that my higher self was speaking to me. There
Mm,
was just something so pure about it, and it resonated in my heart. I
mm.
felt it in my heart. And I said, okay, I'm ready for it. And then immediately after that, within 24 to 48 hours, I saw that there was this coaching program that came around, and I forget her name, but I thought, oh, well, maybe I should explore that. Like something felt interesting to me about it. I thought, oh, maybe I should explore that. And the gal that was running that coaching program had told me before, several months earlier, oh, you should be a coach.
Mm.
And she kind of planted that seed. And I was like, I don't know about this. And so when this happened several months later, and then I saw her ad, I thought, oh, I should explore this. And so she did a little webinar thing, and I went and I joined it. And I thought, oh my gosh, it sounds really exciting. Like it sounds like maybe I want to do this. I decided to go for it. I went for it, and through the process of that coaching program, these other ladies that were in the cohort had gotten a session with Jessica Rachel.
Oh.
Oh, Jessica Rachel told me that this is what my business is going to be, and Jessica Rachel told me that this is what my business is going to be, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have a session with Jessica Rachel. You know? So I scheduled this session with Jessica Rachel, which was months later, and it was the first thing she said to me was, oh, I had never met this woman before. I had never met Jessica before. And she was like, oh, you're a healer. And I
Oh.
was like, oh my, because at this point I thought, okay, it's played its role. This energy thing has played its role. I'm not open for business anymore to do these energy healings. I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll do it for myself, for my family, but I don't need to do like a thing with it. It is just a tool that I use for myself. And so she's like, oh, you're a healer. This is what you're here to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not going to leave me alone, is it? And, and so that's when, so I met Jessica, and she gave me my whole business plan with my spirit guides and this whole beautiful thing. And it was beautiful and wonderful. And then at the end of our program, the coaching program, she started an intuition activation 12-week mastery program. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. This sounds like a lot of fun. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not. And so I decided to do it. And it truly was the best decision I ever made.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led me to Jessica Rachel, to really diving deeper into intuition and calling in spirit guides, and how to use this for everything, for myself, for helping clients. And it's been a beautiful journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I met Indra through, and she's the one who told me about Jessica Rachel.
Oh.
And she told me about that 12-week program. So I was so waiting to do it. And she was pregnant, and Jessica Rachel was having her second child. Yeah, second child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she wasn't sure. And then she wasn't gonna. So I ended up working with her one-on-one, which was amazing. It was great. It's like private tutoring.
Yes.
But
Wow.
she's really
Yeah.
amazing.
It's amazing.
So you've kind of touched, but again, how do you now blend your intuition, spiritual connection, practical guidance in the work that you work with the women that you coach right now today?
Yeah, so what came from that was that I morphed more into, based on that coaching certification program that I took, I started coaching women, right? Just like life coaching, just all life things.
Yeah.
And then Jessica Rachel was like, no, or really my spirit guides were like, no, you're supposed to blend your energy healing and
Mm.
your intuitive abilities into this. And really your intuitive abilities to help them kind of figure out where they are in life. But if your way of doing it at the time, the easiest way for me to connect with that intuitiveness was through energy healing. So she's like, if the avenue for you to get there is through energy healing, then use the energy healing in your sessions so that you can connect and get the intuitive messages. So I started doing that. And then it was interesting because what the people that were coming to me were more business related. Like they were
Oh,
coming to me for coaching, but it's like, oh, like for help with their business, helping them develop their business, helping them with their lead magnets, their marketing, their helping them structure, clean up their systems and things like that. It was like that type of coaching. And then from there, and Jessica Rachel told me, you're actually going to be doing business coaching. And so then I thought that it happened like naturally. Like I was advertising life coaching because I was like, I don't know about a business coach. I was advertising life coaching, but the people that were coming to me, the women that were coming to me, were coming specifically because they needed help with their business. So
wow.
we started working that way. And so then I kind of switched from virtual assistant to more of a business coach. But underneath the business coaching, there's always stuff, right? There's our own work that's keeping
Mm.
us stuck. So then I started coaching women in business. It's both business, but then there's a personal life coaching aspect to it as well. And
Yeah.
so the way that I work, the way that it's developed now is, I do business coaching. I help women either start a soulful business. So this is more of a business that is based on their natural gifts, the things that more of a soulful type of thing, not, selling hats, but like more of a energy healer, more of a woman who likes to help people heal with flower essences,
Mm.
more of what's that called? The parenting, not gentle parenting. There's another conscious parenting, like conscious
Oh.
parenting coaching. It's more of these soulful type of wellness type of jobs, businesses, if you will.
Mm.
And so we start their soulful business is what I call it. And then once they're created, or for people, women that already have a business, it's helping them create their systems and processes and get everything simplified in the back end. I mean, I've worked with entrepreneurs for 10 years. I've seen it all behind the scenes. So I know what needs to be done to organize and get things done, like get things looking nice and clear and flowing in the back end. But also with that, we call in their spirit guides. And it's like, okay,
Mm.
what's the plan? What's the best marketing strategy for you? Let's call in the guides and work with them that way. And we tap into the intuitive abilities to like get the downloads from their spirit guides of how they should be doing things. What should they be focusing on next? And then of
Mm.
course there's always the personal work that needs to be done because sometimes we get on our own way of moving forward, of
Absolutely.
making the decisions, of letting the abundance in. So we do the personal work as well
Yeah.
through that process.
Wow.
So what I like to say is that I help businesses simplify and scale their businesses, because once you simplify the back end and do the personal work, then you're able to grow and scale.
Definitely. Wow. That's so good. And I know you do some inner child work too, right? Do you do
Yeah.
that with your clients also?
Yeah, absolutely. Many times part of what is keeping us blocked is this wounded child.
Mm.
It's these core wounds that we have from childhood that are showing up as limiting beliefs. They're showing up as imposter syndrome. They're showing up as, I don't want to be seen. We don't allow ourselves to be visible. And so this is how it shows up in business. Like we don't market our stuff. We don't put ourselves out there. We don't want to share our gifts, our offers, we don't want to show up on social media. That's how it shows up.
Yeah.
Once,
So
I don't
true.
know, procrastination, not going out to meet people and network or do events or do the workshops to bring in clients. That is all limiting beliefs. That is
Yeah.
all core wounds that we're carrying. So yeah, we got
Mm.
to do the work. We got to do the inner child work. We got to reparent ourselves. We got to, work on the mindset and things like
And
that.
sometimes we don't even know what it is. We think it's one thing and it's completely 180 degrees
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's layers,
Oh, so many
there's
layers.
layers.
The onion.
Sometimes it's several things, we start peeling off one layer and we work on one thing, and there's always more.
Yeah. Oh my
There's
gosh.
always more that shows up. So,
So, and then just finally here, I mean, we could talk for hours. I'd love to be
I
on here
know.
for
I
we'll
know,
have
me
chapter
too.
two. Well,
I
just
know.
the final is for the woman that's listening who feels called to something more that just, doesn't know where to start or what for her to know. What's the first step that you would tell them to take
Mhm.
today if they're just kind of lost in their
Yeah.
head?
If you're feeling like there's something more, like you're stuck in a job that you don't like, or maybe you do love your job, but you need something more for yourself, something a little bit more soulful, something you want to explore, something a little bit different. I always tell people to really kind of start exploring things, mostly like, okay, what were the things that you loved to do as a child? Kind of start going down a list of things, and I have exercises that I take people through. But I like to, and that's why I created actually my starter path. It's
Mhm.
a 5-step process that I take people through to start that path to starting a soulful business.
Mm.
And it helps them identify what their natural gifts are, what they're
Mm.
good at, what's already inside them. Because
Nice.
what we're here to do is already inside of us.
It
We
is.
don't really need to go out and look for what's out there. That little process, that starter path takes them through creating an offer, a simple, small, non-complicated offer to start with, simple ways to find clients,
Hmm.
simple ways to get it out there. You don't need a website. It's a very simplified way of proving to yourself, I can do something for
Mm.
myself. It's like those first little steps to start creating something of your own that you can do part time, you can do as a side gig, and then from there explore it and then grow bigger. So
Yeah.
you can get that at bluechakrastudio.com/starter if that's
Great.
if that's something that you're interested in. But I find that most women in my age group, which I'm in my 50s, like in midlife, this is the age when a lot of women start to kind of awaken to this now what
Mm.
question. Maybe we're empty nesters, maybe we're divorced, maybe we've been married to somebody for many, many years, and we're starting to kind of realize, wait a minute, what else is there? Is this
Hmm.
it for me? Like, maybe we go back to, I had a dream once, and we start to
Mm.
kind of, it's a different stage of life. And astrologically, it's natural. It's natural for us to have this little kind of awakening. And
Mm.
so it's a perfect time to really explore. Okay, let me check out. Let me
Yeah.
check out what else is out there, especially if you have that feeling already. If you have that feeling already, trust that there's something out, it's something inside of you that's trying to make its way out.
I love that. I said last question, but actually I do have one
Go
last.
for it.
I always like to ask my guest at the end, usually, sometimes in the middle. You went through some stormy weather, and
Oh, yeah.
you went through where it was so rocky that you had your spiritual awakening. Could you just tell us how did you? Because a lot of our listeners are deep in the storm.
Hmm.
How did you find that inner light that you just trusted? That you just said, "Okay, I'm going to find it," and you found it when you were in the deep part of the storm, and you went through a couple storms that you shared with us. Maybe the darkest of the storm. Is there anything that you can share with our listeners of maybe one or two things that you did or they could do right now?
So there's a couple of things. One of them for me was I just always had an inner knowing that I was going to figure it out,
Mm.
that things were
Yeah.
going to work themselves out.
Mm.
I just always knew that there was a higher power that was always with me and that was always going to help me through. And I don't know where this came from. I don't know if maybe this was an upbringing from my parents,
Mm-hmm.
from their resilience, but I always knew inside of me, well, I'm going to get to work. Let,
Mm-hmm.
let's go.
Yeah.
Like, what else am I going to do? So I've just always had that inside of me. Like,
Mm.
okay, here it is. What do we do? What do I do?
Yeah.
Guide me. Guide me. Just tell me what to do. Hold me. Show me. I just always had that was always from a very young age. So I would say to that person, to that woman who's struggling, whatever that higher power is for you, whether it's God, it's Buddha, it's your higher self, your soul, a healed loved one, ask their help. Ask for help
Hmm.
from the universe, whatever it is for you. Ask for the help and the answers and the guidance. You will receive it if you're receptive to it. That's the one thing. The second thing for me, when I got older and really went through those really really tough times, it was my children. They were my light. Oof, you're gonna make me cry now. Oof. Mm. They were my light. That's why I say my sons have been my biggest teachers, and they really have been the catalysts to my spiritual awakening, because when push came to shove, if they hadn't been here, I don't know where I would be today.
Yeah.
There were days I did not want to get out of bed,
Mm.
but I knew there were two little boys waiting for me.
Mm.
And so I got out of bed,
Mm.
struggling and all, put in a happy face, and just loved on them.
Yeah.
And then, once I dropped them off at school, cried. But, not that I didn't cry in front of them. But I always allowed them to see that I was emotional, that it was okay to feel emotions, but I didn't want them to see me sad all the time.
Yeah.
You know? So they were my light,
Mm.
especially once it came down to being my son's health struggle. Then it was like, oh, it was almost like I was in part of the equation. It was like, and I remember telling this to myself, I'm going to leave no stone unturned.
Mm.
I tried everything: therapy, counseling, psychiatric drugs, church, prayer, energy healing, meditation. If you told me to stand on my head for 3 days, I would have stood on my head for 3 days. I was going to try everything in my power to nurture him back to health.
And you
And
did.
that was my spirit guides.
Yeah.
It was
Oh
my
my.
spirit guides, like, girl, wake up.
Yeah. We're here.
Yeah. Like, we've been like, this seriously, that was like the ultimate, like, shake up. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
girl, wake up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your vulnerability. And the thing I love about doing podcasting, and you know this, you've been in this space for so long. If we help one person, it's worth it.
and you never know
You
who's
don't.
listening at
You
just
just
the right
don't.
time, and
At
it
just the
is
right time.
beautiful.
It
Yes.
is. It
So
pops up
thank
in
you.
somebody. Absolutely. Well, thank
Yeah.
you, because
Yeah.
I know there's going to be that one person that this hears and it resonates, or they send it to that person that needs to hear it today. And
Yeah.
when you're in the storm and you just and you surrender, you just say, okay, what was working before didn't work.
Right.
I kind of have the visual.
My way isn't working, so show me the way.
Show me the way. I surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so
Exactly. Thank you.
beautiful. I
And
know
thank
you're on it.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you for the work that you do and all the stories that you bring on, because yeah, you just never know who you're impacting, and I
No.
met somebody over the weekend at a live event, and a personal development event, and she came up to me and said, because of you, I am here today, because I heard a
Oh,
podcast episode that you did on somebody else's podcast once.
oh
And
my
so that's
gosh.
why I'm here today. Because I was on the podcast of the woman that was putting
Mm.
on this event. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I didn't expect that to be the result of that conversation. So every story is touching somebody's life.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Have a beautiful dinner tonight. You look
Thank you.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Wow, you look
Thank
so
you.
good. You
Oh,
always do, but tonight you're just
no.
glowing.
I'm glowing. Well, that's because I'm with you.
Oh, you're amazing.
All
And I want to
right.
thank my listeners. Thanks for being here, being loyal listeners, and to new listeners. We're always going to have new and great content. And thank you, Sonia, for everything you do.
Thank
I love you
you.
so much.
Take
I'll
care.
talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.